I'm not keen on that intro anymore. All the street watching on Rumble and this, that, the other. Okay, fine. Here's Thick Sage's channel. Oh no, not that one. I share a different one. This one. Uncle Sam. I'll put a link in. It's not difficult to find. Just type in UncleSam.im. Now then. Not going to spend too long on this. Oh, this is one of Bill's live streams. There's Dave, look. Yeah. You got a real problem with Dave, haven't you? I've still got the wrong one. Difficult from Rumble. Oh, where's all the videos of Veckel gone? Oh, there they are, look. Oh, yeah. Veckel the pedo. That's interesting. Why would Sam, because Bill knows who Sam is, of course. Of course he does. I wonder what his connection with Dude was. Vaguely, I'm interested. Goats just don't get it. Oh, there's Bill, look. Yeah, yeah. And he spent, I'm not complaining. It's up to him what he does on his channel. I don't give a stuff. Right? Why would he have, let's have a look at the playlist here. Let's go to that. Matt Bell before his arrest. I've heard of Matt Bell. I've never been to his channel. Veckel and the Pedo. Veckel and the Pedo 2. Veckel and the Pedo 3, 4, 5. How many hours? 4 hours on that one. 2 1/4. That's 6. Call it 6.5. 7, 8 hours. Call it 11. I'm just averaging it out, sort of. 11 hours on Veckel and the Pedo. Now, I don't hate Veckel. I know I'm going to be accused of it. I really don't care. Not my problem. right? This is the kind of nastiness I've been hearing, and I'm not sort of judging over it. Just making a point, really. Are you surprised that you're getting some garbage from Ryan? If you are, I don't know. I've read the comment you made, and there's nothing rude about anybody's family in there. He's just saying he doesn't like his ailments, whatever those are, being ridiculed. Shocker. Should he be surprised? You know, when you dish it out, expect it back. I don't know. I get it. I get a bit of grief, if you can call it that. I wouldn't really call it grief. I'm going to download all of those videos and then upload them, if they're still there, because think one word, it'll come up. There it is. Now, oh, he's done something on Dave as well. Yeah, that was how long ago? 2 years. Andy Capp, the Universalist, whatever he is now, Buddhist, Hindu, atheist, a total dummy, really. I'm not trying to be cruel. I've thought that for the last 3-4 years now. I think Andy might even say it's more than 4 years ago that I first came across his Universalist garbage. I've never referred to him as brother. I never will, you know. Now then, I'm going to listen to a Kevin Thompson video. Yeah, whoever was on YouTube is gone. Oh yeah, Praise was taking bribes from Smokey. Yeah, I wonder why. Bill forgets that. Why is Dave's picture on there? I don't think I ever went to any of Sam's live streams. That was Kenny there. That's Kenny Rhodes. Oh, he is. Oh, what's that guy's name now? Oh, I forgot his name. Oh, well. Oh, what's that stupid guy's name? As long as you're slagging off Bill's enemies, you're fine. You'll be okay, Ben, won't you? Right. I'm going to mention Ben just for 5 minutes or so. I got an email from him yesterday. I don't care. I'm not going to answer it. Why should I? I'm sick to death of it. It goes into St. Ronan's, blah, blah. I don't know what was said in the private chat in the studio. I didn't go in. I recorded it, but I fell asleep for the middle sort of 2 hours of it, something like that. I woke up and then, yeah, Ben, England 7 went in there. Next thing you know, he's consorting with the enemy according to Bill. That's fair enough. That's up to him, you know. Ben realizes he made a mistake. It was recorded. It's staying there. Was trying to be, you know, I was trying to actually find all the videos I've done of Ben. I made them private. I'm tempted to just undo that and leave them on there, premiere them again. I don't want to. I'm not vindictive. So Ben sent me an email. We were talking okay. There was no problem. And he had this video of handicap from 10 years ago. He said he wanted to do a stream on my channel. In other words, he wanted me to sort of review it, play it. He wanted to come in, blah, blah. I said, yes, I did, yeah. I fell asleep that day. I sort of regretted saying yes, I think. I don't know. Changed my mind, but I wasn't lying about it. I wasn't lying when I said to do the stream. Handicap has been a waste of time for the last 4 or 5 years. Nothing changes much, does it, Andy? So Ben got a connection with it over it. Oh, don't email me again. Blah, blah, blah. I'm tempted to screen share the emails. Still got them. And now he sent me another email accusing me of the same old garbage. Oh, you're in love with your hate. You went into Praise I Am's channel. We. Apologize to Praise. Why? Why do you need to apologize to him for anything? Who is he? Nobody. What determination does he have over you? Are you frightened of Bill? Are you frightened of Praise I Am? Are you frightened of that pig dude? Well, liar. Bill was in the side chat while dude was calling me totally satanic. Bill never said a word against it. I've no time for you, Bill. Bye-bye. I don't go to your channel anyway, so make all the videos you want. Waste as many hours as you wish to. I'm not going to be there. Yeah. Bye. I'm going to post links to this. I will. I should think Bill will get in contact with Sam and say, oh, don't let him download these, blah, blah. I'm not bothered. The videos are there. I'll just show you again. Oh, yeah, Veckel and the pedo. There's a Pete playlist. Why would Sam refer to Veckel as a pedo? G-Man, I've heard of him. Not totally impressed, I don't think. There's tons of other stuff I could say. It's not worth it. It's clearly a waste of time. Right, I'm going to play something interesting. For me, anyway. Whether it's interesting for you or not, that's not my problem, it's yours. I'm going to delete those 2 tabs. You can see on screen, Kevin Thompson, why Calvinism is the real semi-Pelagianism. Right, you can comment if you want to, and then delete it. I'm not worried. I'm not recording anything other than just playing this video. Suit yourself. Yeah, I've got no. Don't think I'll be going to Praise's channel or Dude. The guy. I mean, what an absolute clown. When it comes to a free gracer teaching false doctrine, Bill won't say anything, will you, Bill? Bill. So, right, let's get on with it.
And since we're since we're talking about Calvinistic, I'm going to have reading.
Why Calvinism is the real semi-Pelagian. It is interesting that the Calvinist, and I had noticed it, will accuse you of everything that they actually are. Does that ring a bell anywhere? I honestly couldn't say whether I think Praise I Am is Calvinist, Catholic, or what. I really don't know. I don't think he even knows. Anyway, minor point. I had to get that little jibe in. Yeah, Bill, thank you for being consistent. Not.
Why Calvinism is the real semi-Pelagianism. So we're talking about a Calvinistic disclaimer. If you're there, you're going to want to comment and say all kinds of things that we can from any other Calvinism, which have already been addressed on this channel. We have over 300 videos that deal with Calvinism. So please save your breath, save your fingers. Don't say things that we've already addressed, because whatever you're going to say, we've already addressed, we've already thought it through, and we already know the issues. Okay? So the disclaimer reads, pay very close attention. Beyond the Fundamentals does not promote or agree with Arminianism, Provisionism, Pelagianism, Universalism, Synergism, Monergism, Open Theism, or any other ideological label to which Calvinists attempt to map their theological opponents. We also do not hold free will as an axiomatic premise, nor do we worship ourselves or think that we save ourselves. We completely support biblical predestination and biblical election while rejecting Augustinian and Gnostic perversions of these concepts. So if you are a Calvinist and you're going to comment, please bear this in mind before you comment. If you want to support the channel, you can either go to beyondthefundamentals.com.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's a QR code if you want to use your phone to get there.
Yeah. Beyond. If you want to help. Oh, hello, William. If you want to help Kevin Thompson out with financing, go to Kevin at beyondthefundamentals.com. I would put a link. But anyway, I can't on here. That's the one thing I'm not happy with Rumble about, really.
And at the beyondthefundamentals.com donate page, 5 different ways to donate. And if you don't like any of those, shoot me an email and we'll figure something else out. Thanks to everybody who supports the channel so far. You can also follow us on Facebook, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon, and you can follow us on Twitter. We're now on X, formerly known as Twitter. As we move forward today, it's very important that we understand that we do not like to argue for free will around here. One of the Calvinist presumptions, going back to our disclaimer, we also do not hold free will as an axiomatic premise.
Don't argue for it. Don't bother. Because you're stepping on enemy's territory then.
Hold something about the human will as an axiomatic premise.
Yeah, if you use the enemy's weapons, if they're being sort of left behind for you to grab and pick up, you know what happens, don't you? They're usually booby-trapped.
And they presume that all non-Calvinists do the same, just on the opposite end of the spectrum, which is exactly what we're here to talk about today. That's not what we do here. We do not hold free will as an axiomatic premise. We are okay with either free will or no free will being a derivative of an epistemic process based on sound axioms after practicing axiomatic awareness and axiomatic minimalism. What do those two things mean? That means you are aware of your axioms, axiomatic awareness, you know what they are, And then you have minimized them down to the fewest axioms possible in order to derive the worldview in which you currently see. Or you could use them to discover that the worldview through which you have seen things is invalid. You could invalidate your worldview by doing some axiomatic awareness and axiomatic minimalism. So an axiom is when you, like in the book Super Thinking, they ask the question, the 5 whys. Why is this? Okay, why that? Like, why do you believe the Bible? Well, it came from God. Well, why do you believe that? Well, this. Well, why? You keep asking why. In the book, and very commonly elsewhere, it's frequently called the 5 whys, but there's really no limit to how many whys you can ask. When you ask why enough times to where you get to an answer that is admittedly circular in reasoning, that's when you've probably hit an axiom, okay? And there's nothing wrong with having an axiom, you just need to know what they are, okay? If you're a Calvinist, when I ask Calvinists what their axioms are, they always give me the tulip. And what that means is they don't understand epistemics, they don't understand what axioms are, okay? If the tulip is true, it would derive from the axioms. It itself would not be axioms, okay? And Scripture would have to come from, would be derived from sound axioms. All the things that come from science will be derived from sound axioms, okay? Even science operates on axioms, any kind. They have certain axioms on which they operate. You need to know what yours are. We try to identify that around here and advocate for people to do so. It's good to see some people in the chat. Audio, videos, 10 out of 10. Thanks. I had a little internet hiccup right when we were getting started. So I'm going to use the example of a battery. I've used this example before by holding up an actual battery. I don't know if you can see that, but it basically has philosophy of the human will written on the battery. Okay? Philosophy of the human will. It doesn't matter if it's the philosophy of the human will or presumption of the human will. Here, we're going to identify it as the presumption of the human will. When you're dealing with a Calvinist, and this happened to me when I was at the University of Mobile, my professors were able to lay everything out there, and Dr. Yonts, he's passed away now, but to this day, I still respect him. He did, a lot of people are just deceived and ignorant, and they don't know better. But he was a good guy, but he did this same tactic too. He would describe Calvinism, then he would describe first of all, they get you to hate Pelagius. Okay, they take you through the whole controversy, the Pelagian controversy. I got the book right up here. I'm gonna show you a picture of the Pelagian. The book is, I got it pictured right there. They take you through the whole Pelagian controversy, and they get you to hate Pelagius, and then they take your views and they label them as semi-Pelagian. And what people do, they're like, oh, I don't want to be a semi-Pelagian. I don't want to be thought of this way. And it's a manipulative tactic because people are egoic, they're carnal, and they very much care about what Fowler calls your S prime. And that is your perception of what other people think of you. I don't want other people thinking I'm a semi-Pelagian. And so all the students are sitting there squirming in their seats trying to figure out how to not be considered a semi-Pelagian, right? And so this is a very manipulative trick that Calvinists do because they will point out all the errors elsewhere. And what this is the projection of their own shadow. The reason they're pointing out errors elsewhere is because they know that they are in error and they're trying to point the finger elsewhere outside so that it doesn't point back at them. Now, if you understand anything about psychology, you can recognize projection right off the bat, and it is projection through and through. And all Calvinist ideologues do this because they all know Calvinism is wrong deep down, but they can't bring themselves to admit it for a variety of different reasons, which we have more than 60 videos on cognitive science, growth and transformation, for why humans function the way they do, in-group, out-group, pressure, those kinds of things.
Cool.
And so the person squirming in their seat, they don't want to be non-Pelagian. And also, there's a name for this. Somebody brought it up in our Discord, and I can't remember what the name for this is, but they do it in the American Gospel. And there's several other logical fallacies associated with this, such as guilt by association, false dilemma fallacy, false equivalency fallacy. There's multiple ones doing this. And in the documentary called The American Gospel, they go through all these different kinds of churches, from cults to Mormons to Bethel movement and Hillsong. I can't remember all the ones they go through, but they're all wrong. And they never tell you what's right. They never say Calvin, like all the ones they show that are correct are Calvinists, right? So if you know who's talking and you know where they're coming from, you know that they are saying that Calvinism is correct. But they never put Calvinism forth for scrutiny, okay? They never set it forth for open scrutiny or criticism. They never tell you what their doctrine, what their distinctives are. They never tell you what they are. They never tell you what the big controversies with them are. So all the things that they're pointing out as wrong, they are just as wrong. They are just as wrong, but they don't want anybody to come to the cognitive level of awareness to realize how wrong they are. So they never present their own stuff. So it's presumed by default that the people they are recommending are correct, while all the other people, so there's this out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So all you see is Joel Osteen and Kenneth Copeland and Bethel and Hill, and all these guys are all just so wrong. And like, where do you go? Where do you go to avoid all of this? Well, you just come to us. Just come to us. Well, hold on. Stop. Just wait a second. What about you? What about you? What's wrong with you? They are more messed up than any of them. They are the ones to avoid the most. You'd be better off in any of those groups than you'd be with Calvinists. Any of them. I don't care. I don't care what they are. You'd be better off in any of them.
Calvinism is evil. Real evil.
Somebody's watching London, having also eaten fish. And Alan, welcome aboard. Doxastic voluntarism. Not sure what that is. Think about it. I'm looking at some of these comments. Some of them I can't read. By the way, if you do send a super chat, I will read it. So this kind of false dilemma is what they present, and they're begging the question, really. There's so many logical fallacies tied into this, and the presumption is that they've pointed out all these other things, and they're all wrong, and the presumption is that the Calvinists are correct. But they don't call themselves Calvinists. See, they don't identify who and what they are. And so this happened in University of Mobile. Everyone else, you're either an Arminian, our disciplines, a few of them. They don't want to call you all these things. You're a synergist. You're a universalist. They got all these labels. They're very left hemispheric, and they're trying to pigeonhole everybody into these labels that they have so easily taxonomized and categorized. They can't deal with an individual who actually thinks. So when they're talking to you, if you don't fall under a particular label, they start to short circuit and strip out their gears and burn up their clutch plate. They start having difficulties really fast because they can't talk to a thinking individual. They can only talk to a category that operates by a formula. Because they are categorical and they operate by formulas and scripts, they can only talk to categories that operate by formulas and scripts. So trying to find out what you are. Are you an Arminian, a traditionalist, a Pelagian? They have to have a label for you. They have to have a predefined, predetermined, so that they can go into argue with Arminian mode. Now, they don't care about you. You don't have any nuances. You can't think for yourself. There's nothing you can think of that they need to entertain, because they have argument from authority fallacy that they're working with. All kinds of other fallacies. Victimhood equals virtue fallacy. Like all the fallacies. If you had all the fallacies all in one place, the name for that is Calvinism. Okay. So what happened back during the time of this Pelagian controversy with Augustine? You see, Augustine had previously written in favor of free will. And I'm having to distinguish that because a Calvinist will say, oh, we believe in free will. You're free to sin. Calvinists don't actually believe in total depravity. When you start talking to them and I say, well, I know people who do not profess Christ and they do good things. They got married, they had kids, they're a doctor, they invented devices that saved children's lives. They, saved kids from burning buildings. They pay their mortgage, they pay their taxes. They make decisions all the time. They make decisions to vote. They make decisions to buy things, to, make major, get married, buying houses, buying cars. They earn money honestly. I know some atheists that adopt kids and out of drug homes where these kids can now have an opportunity to grow up in a safe, loving environment. So you're going to tell me that. So they'll say, no, you're talking about absolute depravity, that man is bad as he possibly could be. And this is another word game, because Calvinism is word games. If you go to the dictionary or thesaurus and you look up absolute, you will get total as one of the substitute words. If you look up total, you will get absolute. Total depravity, absolute depravity. If you don't recognize that those are basically the same thing, you're playing word games. So total depravity or total inability is the idea that no, man's not as bad as he possibly could be. In other words, he does some good things or some not horrible things, but he's just totally depraved. Right? No, I don't think you mean he's totally depraved. When you really boil it down, you got people who are not professing Christians who actually go to church or who are trying to find their way, who give to the poor. They do all kinds of things. And when you really boil it all down, there's actually only one thing they can't do. Total depravity, that sounds total and all-encompassing, it just means you can't believe the gospel. That's it. That's the only real thing they believe a person cannot do. Can't believe the gospel, you cannot receive Jesus Christ. So while they call it total depravity, and they present it as if it's this all-encompassing thing, at the end of the day, when you talk to them, they have to admit there's actually only one thing. So what they really believe is singular depravity. They don't believe total depravity. So somehow there was a special category. They can make all these other choices, but there's a special category of choice or belief or receive, which they do in every other category of life just fine. But there's a special category that a person can't do because they're totally depraved. Actually, they're singularly depraved. But there is no scripture for this special category of inability. This one singular special category of this one choice you can't make, one thing you can't believe, one thing you can't receive. This category does not exist in scripture. There is no barrier there, okay? At the end of the day, they just really believe in singular depravity. So they will say, even if you look at the London Baptist Confession, they have a section on free will there. That's why on Wilson's book talks about free will and non-free free will. It's hilarious because Calvinists believe in what is actually non-free free will, and they call that free will. And then the non-Calvinists are supposed to modify the libertarian. It's seeding the language to people, making words less and less valuable. It's like devaluing your money. Okay, letting Calvinists participate in the information ecology is like intentionally devaluing your money. It's like quantitative easing. Okay, it's intentionally devaluing your money in a way that doesn't help anyone and makes communicating much more difficult. Okay, but that's what you do when you're trying to exercise sophistry, when you're trying to deceive people, get one over, when you're strategically misrepresenting arguments. It's another fallacy that they do. Strategically misrepresenting their own position and other people's positions. You know it's bad. You know you're bad. And you have to accurately misrepresent it. You say that they don't understand Calvinism. Intellectual inflation, propositional inflation. See, I think propositions are very, very valuable. They're very, very valuable. Separate us from the animals, language. But if your propositions don't point to anything real, you devalue them and they become much less valuable. So Pelagius comes along. Pelagius starts with an unscriptural presupposition. Let me draw on this here. Let me use a pen and circle this. An unscriptural presupposition, and that is a presumption of the human will. That's the axiomatic starting point, a presumption of the human will. So I've used a battery here to depict it because there's a positive and a negative side. And so all the argument throughout all of history is about one end or the other end of this battery. The problem is it's the wrong battery. See, that's the problem. It's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing to argue about. They're arguing about the negative and positive poles of something that is wrong to start with. So Pelagius comes along and has a presumption of the human will. Okay? And then Augustine comes along, and his answer to that is not to get rid of the battery entirely and go back to Scripture. His answer to this is to take the premise. He takes the Pelagian premise of starting with a presumption of the human will, except the only difference is he takes the other end of the battery. So Pelagius and Augustine are holding on to two opposite ends of the exact same battery. It's the same system. It's the same thing. And Augustine's whole system, his whole system is Pelagian because he accepts the Pelagian premise of starting.
Sounds like a story from Lilliput, doesn't it?
With an axiomatic presumption of the human will. I do not claim to be an expert with Pelagius, but I do understand from some scholarship that's come out recently that Pelagius has been very much misrepresented by Calvinists. I mean, imagine a Calvinist strategically misrepresenting somebody who disagrees with them.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on the contents, but I do understand that he's been misrepresented. Yeah. But I'm not going to try to get in this video. I'm not going to try to get into the details of what that misrepresentation is. For the sake of this argument, we can even just say that the lying Calvinists were right about Pelagius, and that's fine, whatever, for the sake of this discussion. Even though the way to tell if a Calvinist is lying is if their mouth is moving, except for when they're not talking about their distinctives, because the mean complex is a parasite that has to have a host, and sometimes they say things that align directly with the host, Christianity.
Yeah.
But when they are talking about their distinctives, that's when you know they're lying. Anytime they're talking about their distinctives. So Augustine, all of Calvinism is based on a Pelagian premise. All of it is. That we should start with an axiomatic presumption of the human will. That's the Pelagian premise. Doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. Taking the negative or the positive side of this doesn't matter when the battery is the wrong thing to be dealing with anyway. You see? So Pelagius is like, I'm taking the positive side of this wrong thing as my. I'm taking the side of this wrong thing as my starting place. He's following the Pelagian. So Pelagianism is not scriptural. From rivalry. And I have this slide here. I will make it larger so you can see it. And this was Augustine's problem, okay? This was Augustine's problem. Epistemic rivalry occurs when individuals or groups prioritize winning an argument or a debate over seeking truth. This dynamic often leads to several cognitive and social biases that distort reasoning and judgment. You have confirmation bias. People tend to favor information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. In a rivalrous context, this bias is amplified as individuals selectively gather, recall, and interpret evidence that supports their position to win the debate, overlooking or dismissing contrary evidence. Augustine's got that problem. Ego involvement. When individuals are deeply ego invested in being right, their self-esteem is tied to winning the argument. This investment can cloud their judgment, leading them to defend a position more vehemently and ignore nuanced or contradictory information. Groupthink. In group settings, the desire for harmony and conformity can pressure individuals to align with a dominant competitive stance that seems to be winning, often at the expense of a more accurate or truthful perspectives. So what you have here is you also have a logical fallacy of the excluded middle, where, in other words, there is another way of saying things. The idea is that Pelagius and Augustine are both wrong. They're both very wrong. It's not one side versus the other. They're both wrong. They're both very wrong. Okay? But there were some people, like, so later on, Calvinism is refuted in some of the church councils. And this is, Idol Killer does a really good job of showing you what those councils are and when they took place, when Calvinism was refuted in the church council. So it was defeated later. But in this exact context, all the authorities, they needed to get rid of Pelagius, so they were all Team Augustine, regardless of how much it cost them. And it cost a lot. And to this day, it's still costing a lot. Because Augustine was epistemically irresponsible. And here we are to this day. We still have Calvinists to this day. Okay, and this should have been wiped out